Today you're going to be working with several different documents, and they're going to be different kinds of documents to give you more information about the Montgomery bus boycott. After we read the documents, you are going to be working on finding some important text evidence. These documents will all deal with the Montgomery bus boycott, but they are going to be different kinds of documents. So take a look at the first document. It's document A. It's the first of the three. It should be purple. And you need to understand that this is from a textbook. So this is going to read differently than some of the other ones we have. You can go ahead and read this on your own, or you can listen to me read it, and you can stay with me. If you don't want to listen to me and you want to read it on your own, go ahead and pause, and then you'll have to run this video forward. Document A, textbook, the Montgomery bus boycott. In 1955, just after the school desegregation decision, a black woman helped change American history. Like most southern cities, and many northern ones, Montgomery had a law that blacks had to sit in the back row of the bus. One day, Rosa Parks boarded a city bus and sat down in the closest seat. It was one of the first rows of the section where blacks were not supposed to sit. The bus filled up and some white people were standing. The bus driver told Rosa Parks that she would have to give up her seat to a white person. She refused and was arrested. The next evening, black leaders, many of them church ministers, met to decide if they should protest. A young minister who had just moved to Montgomery from Atlanta, Martin Luther King Jr., soon became the leader of the group. King and the others called for a black boycott of the Montgomery bus system. The boycott meant blacks refused to ride the buses. For months, the buses were almost empty because most of the riders had been black. Then, the boycott spread to white businesses in downtown Montgomery. King was arrested and jailed, but he continued to urge his followers to use a path of nonviolent resistance. This meant that they would break laws that discriminated against blacks, but that they would not use violence. By 1960, black Americans had made some progress toward equality. The Supreme Court and other government actions had opened the door, but most blacks were still forced to live a second-class type of life. All right, so we're going to go on to the next document, but just keep this document in mind now that you've heard it or read it yourself. All right, so document B. This document is going to be very different because, as you can see, document B is a letter that was written from Joanne Robinson to the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama. So this is going to be very different. She wrote this during the bus boycott, and you can see that she was actually the president of the Women's Political Council. And this was an organization of African American women that was founded in 1949, so several years before the bus boycott started. And they met together and they tried to think of strategies that they could do to help out the situation and the racism in Montgomery. So either read this letter on your own or follow along as I read it to you. If you're reading it on your own, go ahead and pause the video now. Dear Sir, the Women's Political Council is very grateful to you and the city commissioners for hearing out our representative. There were several things the council asked for. Number 1, a city law that would make it possible for Negroes to sit from the back toward front and whites to sit from front toward back until all seats are taken. Number 2, that Negroes not be asked or forced to pay fare at front and go to the rear of the bus to enter. 3, that buses stop at every corner in residential sections occupied by Negroes, as they do in communities where white residents reside. We are happy to report that buses have begun stopping at more corners now in some sections where Negroes live than previously. However, the same practices in seating and boarding the bus continue. Mayor Gale, 3/4 of the riders of these public conveyances are Negroes. If Negroes did not patronize them, they could not possibly operate. More and more of our people are already arranging with neighbors and friends to ride to keep from being insulted and humiliated by bus drivers. There has been talk of planning a citywide boycott of buses. We, sir, do not feel that forceful measures are necessary in bargaining for a convenience which is right for all bus passengers. Respectfully yours, the Women's Political Council, Joanne Robinson, President. And you can see on the very bottom of this paper that this was an excerpt from the letter. So this is not the whole letter that she wrote. And she wrote this on May 21st, 1954. So she wrote this well over a year before the incident happened with Rosa Parks. So this boycott of the buses was already being set in motion over a year before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. And you can see that in their demands listed as 1, 2, and 3, they're not asking for a lot. They're asking that they could sit anywhere on the bus and not have to go directly to the back, that they don't have to get out of the bus after they pay their fare and walk around and get in the back door of the bus. And they also want the buses to stop at all the corners in the neighborhood to drop people off, just like they do in white neighborhoods, so that black people don't have to walk farther once they get off the bus. These demands are nothing too great or crazy. All right, so that was the yellow document. Now let's go to document C. This is the blue document. I know that it does not look blue here on the screen, but the paper that you have in front of you is very clearly blue. This is a diary entry, and this is a diary entry from a very interesting but controversial civil rights leader that we had. So the name of the civil rights leader is Bayard Rustin. And he traveled to Montgomery to advise and help Dr. King in the bus boycott. Bayard Rustin has a very, very interesting story. He was a very prominent civil rights leader that we don't often hear about, and this is because of some personal things that people did not like about him. So take a look at what it says here. He was asked, even though he was a great leader who was well respected, he was actually asked to leave Montgomery and, stop helping with the bus boycott because he was an openly gay man. And at this time in the United States, it was absolutely unacceptable for people to be gay. It was not like it is today. It was a crime, and you could get arrested for things like that, even though it's your personal life and you should be able to do what you want. And the other civil rights leaders felt that he would hurt their cause, and he would not, because of his personal choices, that would bring shame to their cause. So even though he was a very influential and well-respected leader, he was not really accepted by the others in the movement, which is interesting. He also had some communist beliefs, and you might not understand what that is, but that's a whole other thing that was also not accepted at the time. All right, so go ahead and either pause the video and read this on your own or listen as I read it to you. So this letter is dated February 24th. 42,000 Negroes have not ridden the buses since December 5th. On December 6th, the police began to harass, intimidate, and arrest Negro taxi drivers who were helping these people get to work. It thus became necessary for the Negro leaders to find an alternative, the carpool. This morning, Rufus Lewis, director of the pool, explained that there are 3 methods in addition to the carpool for moving the Negro population. 1. Hitchhiking. 2. The transportation of servants by white housewives. 3. Walking. Later, he introduced me to 2 men, one of whom has walked 7 miles and the other 14 miles every day since December 5th. The success of the carpool is at the heart of the movement, Lewis said at the meeting. It must not be stopped. I wondered what the response of the drivers would be, since 28 of them had just been arrested on charges of conspiring to destroy the bus company. One by one, they pledged that if necessary, they would be arrested again and again. I really like this diary entry, which is an excerpt from his February 24th entry, 1956, because it really details the people who were helping drive and get people to and from work. It talks about their commitment. It seems absolutely insane to us that they were arrested just for transporting people in their cars, but that is absolutely what happens. All right, so now that you have either read or listened to all three of the documents, let's take a look at this white paper so that you can see what you are supposed to be doing. All right, so the directions on this white paper say that there's a student who is writing a research report about the success of the Montgomery bus boycott. As you know, the Montgomery bus boycott actually worked and they got what they wanted. So the three sources that you just had in front of you and that you read, the purple, the yellow, and the blue, these are the sources that this child found who was writing the argumentative research paper. And he is writing some claims to include in his report. So the claims are in the table right here. He found that there are many reasons for the success of the boycott, the reasons why it worked. And these reasons are as follows. There were strong leaders and spokespeople. Citizens made sacrifices. There was a collaboration of the community, and that included information being disseminated, carpools, not giving up in the boycott, that kind of thing. The use of nonviolent protest was a reason that it worked. Persistence played a factor. The involvement of black women in particular played a factor. And the fact that they had clear ideas and goals also was an important factor in their success. So your job is to look at each claim, and we are going to take a look at this first one here, and you will decide, was there evidence of strong leaders in document A? If so, you can put a check mark or an X in this box. Was there evidence of strong leaders in document B? If so, check mark. And what about document C? If you found evidence of strong leaders, you would put a check mark here. Now, in addition to the check marks that you have once you decide whether there was evidence, you also have to find specific text evidence, and we are going to quote the text, and I will show you what I mean by that. We'll do these first two together, and then you can get started on the rest of it. All right, so going back to document A, the textbook, did you find that there were strong leaders listed in this article? I think for sure you should be able to easily see that there were leaders mentioned such as Rosa Parks. So we can get that. Also, Dr. King was mentioned. And then just in general, black leaders are mentioned. So, going back to the white paper, I would say that there is evidence in document A of strong leadership, and it's going to be a little bit difficult. So you are probably going to have to write rather small in this box right here, because we have potentially up to 3 documents to write in here, and my writing is going to be really big, but what you need to write is document A, and we need to quote the text. So Rosa Parks was in document A. You need to write her name, and we are quoting the text, so we're going to put quotations around her name. Dr. King or Martin Luther King Jr., it doesn't matter what you write, you should have him there. And then it also mentioned black leaders, so also make sure that you write this one. Now, you are going to need to write yours much smaller than I wrote mine, because we still have to check document B and document C. Pause the video if you need to write those. All right, so let's go back to document B. In document B, we are looking for strong leaders. I think that we can probably infer that Joanne Robinson, since she was the president of this Women's Council, was a strong leader. And in addition, I think we can go ahead and write that the Women's Political Council was also a group of strong leaders. So going back here, we'll put a check mark here. And then again, you need to squish this in here. Document B, we have Joanne Robinson. And then another strong leader was the Women's Political Council. All right, so make sure you have those listed for document B. All right, going back to document C, we have strong leadership here. We have Bayard Rustin, who I mentioned as a strong leader. We also have Dr. King, and then I think that we can also add Rufus Lewis to this list as a person who had strong leadership, since he was the director of the entire carpool for everyone in Montgomery. So we will also check mark C, or document C, and then here we will list Bayard Rustin, Dr. King. Again, you should write out their names. I am running out of space. And Rufus Lewis. So make sure you write out all of those as well and put them in quotation marks as well. So here's what yours should probably look like when you're finished. All right, so ideally yours would look like this. It's pretty hard to squish all those in there, but you can do it. Let's take a look at the second question. All right, I think it's important for you to know in the second question, the word sacrifices. Hopefully you know what that means. That means that people had to give up something. What did people have to, where was there evidence of people giving something up when they were working for this cause? I will tell you, and let's see if you can find it. There is evidence of sacrifice in document A, and there is evidence of sacrifice in document C. So you should be able to, let's see if you can find it, and I'll show you the answer here in a second. Are you able to go back to document A and document C, and you can feel free to quote the text. Remember, be selective. Do not write a big, giant, long quote, but find evidence of sacrifice in document A and document C. Pause the video. I'll give you a second to do that, and then I'll show you the answer. All right, so here are some answers. In document A, we have that King was arrested and jailed. You can infer that this was a sacrifice because he gave up his freedom, as far as being out of jail goes, for the cause. From document C, we could have the quote, "They would be arrested again and again," in reference to the men who said they wouldn't stop driving people to work. They would just be arrested as many times as it took. I also found in document C, the blue one, which I think you should have, I'm pretty sure that a sacrifice is walking to work instead of riding a bus, which would be much easier. And maybe you could also have, or one or the other would be fine, walked 7 miles, the other walked 14 miles. That seems like a sacrifice. You are sacrificing your time and probably your well-being by walking that far in one day would be my guess. So those are just some answers that you should have for sacrifice of citizens. And before I let you loose to do this on your own, I just want to make sure that you understand what you're looking for. Make sure that in this section, so the section that you'll do next on your own, collaboration of the community. So you are going to look for evidence that people were working together. That's what collaboration means. Particularly people in the community were working together. People, and here are some examples for you, people were getting out information, people were carpooling, and they continued the boycotts and, kept it going. The next one you're looking for is the use of nonviolent protest. So we're looking for sit-ins, marches, boycotts, anything like that. You would just, and pretty much you can find that in any of the articles we've read. Persistence, I don't think this should be a problem, but if you're not sure about that, that means not giving up, especially when things are difficult or hard, so showing persistence. An interesting reason that the bus boycott actually worked is largely due in part to the involvement of Black women, not just men. So find some text evidence that shows that women really had a strong role in the movement, or in the boycott, excuse me. And then finally, you are looking for clear ideas and goals. So a goal that is clearly set, evidence you're looking for here would be that people aren't just doing things without a plan. So you're looking for clear ideas and goals. So you will go ahead and fill in the rest of these on your own, checking which boxes you found evidence in. And then remember, don't forget to write your evidence over here by quoting the text, and make sure you are selective because we are not looking for long answers over here. You simply do not have the room. All right, so go ahead and get started on your own.